Hello, awesome people. It's the lovely Lady Victoria from the VIP Inspirational Academy, where we take your passion and your purpose and help you to create phenomenal results in your life and in your business. Today, we have a dynamic guest on our show, Making Eagle Moves. He is the phenomenal Jeff Hoffman, award-winning serial entrepreneur and founder of Priceline.com, Booking.com, so many other great startups. Jeff is an amazing champion for entrepreneurs all across the world. And today we are so grateful that he is here on our show to share those strategies with us that can help us to up level in our businesses and just to continue making leaps and bounds. Jeff is no stranger to using passion and purpose to create phenomenal results for himself and others. Welcome again, Jeff. Thank you for joining us on today's show.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
Of course, our pleasure. So I want you to jump right into it.
All right, let's do it.
How you got started as an entrepreneur.
So I never set out to be an entrepreneur. That was never the goal. What it was I had a big goal, something that I wanted that I couldn't get. And so entrepreneurship was a way for me to take care of myself and achieve something. So I'll just tell you really quick. I had grew up with a single mom who had 4 kids and no money. And I wanted to go to a specific university that I could not afford. And she couldn't afford. And I applied and got in. But when I got there, they told me I had to go home because I didn't have the money. And so I started my first company, a little tech company, specifically not because I was sitting thinking about money, but because I was thinking about graduation, walking across the stage at graduation to get a diploma. And so that was the goal. I want that diploma. I don't want to just go home. That's how it started. I said, then I'll find some way to make the money myself so that I can get the degree, the education that I want, which I thought was the key to my future. So I just started a little company and I took all the money and paid for my degree. And I didn't say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I was just solving a problem. I need money to pay for this degree. No one's going to pay for it for me. And I don't want to quit and go home. So I'll just find a way to make money. That was my entrance, really.
Wow. That story is awesome. That journey is awesome. And what you have said, it's so profound. I really agree that as individuals, our main goal is to really create that big impact, to solve problems, to bring solutions, and to make a big difference. And so I really think that you really just setting out with those genuine goals of wanting to have a better life. I think so many of us can truly identify to that. So many entrepreneurs. Recently, I have been doing interviews, and most of the entrepreneurs, they're college students. They're just trying to make a hustle. They're just really trying to, for them, they're like, when you support a small business, you are supporting a big dream, and we can truly identify.
And I'm glad I love the way you said that, because it's a small business, but it is somebody's big dream.
Indeed. Beautiful. So what are some mistakes you've seen entrepreneurs just starting out make?
Yeah, okay, so I'll share 2. One of them is they think they can do it by themselves, and you can't. You cannot grow until you can get out of the way a little bit and let go. So this is what I always tell people. You can't grow until you can let go. You can't let go until you can trust and empower people. And you can't trust people and empower them until you spend a lot of time finding those people. So the effort that you got to put into finding people, because a lot of times in different parts of the world, people tell me, well, it's hard to trust people here. And you know what I tell them? I ask them this. I say, well, then should I trust you? And they say, of course you can trust me. And then I say, well, then apparently there are people here that you can trust. You can't tell me I can't trust anybody because then I shouldn't trust you. And they say, no, no, I'm a trustworthy person. I say, then there's probably one down the street too. And so the answer is just look harder. You have to put in the effort to build a team of people you trust. And the reason it's important to trust them is because then you can empower them. Then you can allow them to help take pieces of the business. So that's the first mistake they make. They think they can do it themselves and they try to do it themselves instead of realizing that you're going to need to build a team around you. And I think the second one is thinking your own ideas are great without really getting customer input early and on enough in the process. Too many times I see people and they say, look, I created this thing. And I say, who's going to buy that? And they'll be like, hopefully a lot of people. And what I always ask them is, who is asking for that? Well, nobody, but when they see it, I'm sure they'll want to buy it. And so they're just not engaged with a customer. They're not going out and said, I think I'm thinking of inventing this. If I had this, what color would it have to be? How big would it have to be? How often would you use it? How much would you pay for it? They don't spend enough time with the customer listening to them, and then they can't figure out later why they failed. They're like, hey, nobody bought it. And you're like, nobody was ever going to buy it, but you didn't ask them. You never gave them a chance to give you that. So I'd say those are the two key mistakes.
Wow. I totally agree with you, Jeff. I have seen it so many times as well. Young entrepreneurs starting out in business, and that's it. They think they're an island.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure it out. Personally, I can see the value of mentorship and having people on the same team to just cheer me on and to believe in that dream, right? It's so important.
That is important for the other reason that you said that it's a tough battle. And some days you're down and you need people around you that can lift you back up when you're down. So you are correct. Having people around you and being part of a team helps you with that too. It helps you survive those tough moments.
Of course. And you are an awesome mentor. I just want to use this opportunity to thank you for being a champion for entrepreneurs globally. You've been doing an amazing work through Hello Alice Community, Younger. Just this past week, it was Global Entrepreneurship Week, and you were just connecting with entrepreneurs all over the world. And that is truly inspiring.
Thank you. It's definitely my mission, because I think that you can't help all the people you want to help, but you can teach them how to help themselves. And so that's why I've been so committed to mentoring, because you just said it, everybody just wants a better life. Everybody's just trying to take care of themselves and the people they love. It doesn't matter what country you're in, what color you are, what gender you are. We all have the same goal. Everybody's trying to get along and have the best life they can. And some people were born, though, into situations that they didn't ask for, that it's tougher. So the idea is, let's teach people how to help themselves. And so thank you. That is what I dedicate my time to.
Thank you so much. You are doing a great job at it.
Thanks.
Have you ever started a business and it didn't quite work out the way you anticipated initially? Did you end it, or how did you recover? How did you bounce back?
No, we had to end it. Unfortunately, there was no recovery. We had some business ideas that seemed like a good idea at the time, and we were wrong, and they failed, and we had to shut it down, and that's painful. No one wants to be wrong, and no one wants to call people that gave you money and tell them it's gone and you'll never get it back because I failed. That part's not fun, but it's part of being an entrepreneur. Is that you have to accept that sometimes you will fail, right, and that it's not the goal and you're not proud of it, but you learn from it and move on. So you asked sort of what we did then. We did an autopsy right on the body. I called the whole team in and I said, let's figure out how we got here. Why did we fail? What did we do wrong? Right. Also on the other side of the paper, what worked? And so that next time we will not make the same mistakes again. Right. So we won't just wind up here again. We'll get smarter and better each time. But definitely had some failures, had to shut them down completely, had to do this autopsy and say, what are the lessons learned? And then take all that learning and on to the next one. And you just get better at it each time.
Wow. That's some great advice. That's just beautiful. Can you share with us what are at least three main things that you do every day? What's your morning success or daily routine look like?
Yeah, so there's one that's probably helpful to everybody, right? Because I think it's something that I learned to do. And then there's one that's specific to where I am in my life now. So the helpful one is I do this thing that I created, I just made this word up called info sponging, where every morning for the first 15, 20 minutes of the day before I start my day, I try to learn one new thing that I don't even know I'm learning, just something that's outside of my world. So each day I'll go read an article in the news or online or watch something that at the time I don't even know I'm watching it. Right? It's it's just curiosity. So I spent, because the whole rest of the day, once you get into your day, you're buried with all your day-to-day work. You're focused on your business and your industry, and so you won't discover and learn new things because you're too busy. So I make the time every morning. That's how I start every day. I in my info sponging, 15 minutes, I go read about something that I've never read about before and learn about something new. And those come back to you at the craziest times, right? That, later you're in a situation and you say, oh, you know what? That thing I read about that farmer in Kenya, that actually I could probably use that lesson here. So that's info sponging. The other thing though is after that, and this is more specific to where I am in my life because I'm not currently building a company, which is that it's usually WhatsApp. I start my day after that, the next almost hour is mentoring sessions. Entrepreneurs all over the world, when they have a question, they'll shoot me a WhatsApp. So I go on WhatsApp and I communicate with entrepreneurs on every continent and answering that day's questions before I start my day. So those are my two morning routines.
Wow, that's so generous of you, Jeff. That's just really kind.
I love that. And I learn a lot by doing it. I learn way more from the people that I teach than they, you get way more than you give when you're teaching. You learn much more than you're teaching. And I really enjoy that.
Yes, that's one of the laws of reciprocity, where whatever you give, if you live in abundance and you just continue to give in that overwhelming way, I love to say the same act of giving, you open yourself to receiving. So
yeah, I totally agree.
Those are great morning routines, Jeff. I'm gonna head on over to the chat. The chat is blazing up. They're sending you love. And they're saying, yes, I failed a lot of time, but I kept trying. And they're just so grateful for this interview today. Beautiful.
I appreciate
Thank you,
hearing
everyone,
that. Thank you
for joining us today on this episode of Making Some Moves. Awesome. So, what advice would you give a professional or an individual who they've always had a passion of becoming an entrepreneur, but they are using their job as a crutch?
Yeah, so that's most people. There is a sign. I'm trying to see if it's on my wall behind me. I write down all these things. There is a saying that says being an entrepreneur is like jumping off a mountain and trying to build an airplane on the way down. Okay, if you are scared to death of the unknown and of doing that, you're not an entrepreneur and you shouldn't be one. You'll hate it. But if that thrill, I have spent my whole life throwing myself, jumping off mountains and having no idea what was going to happen next. If that excites you, you'll be an entrepreneur. So my answer is not everybody is an entrepreneur, and that's okay. We need all kinds of people in the world, but to be an entrepreneur, all the successful ones jumped. Jumping does not mean holding your full-time corporate job and messing around on the side. Most of the time, people that started a little side hustle, it never grew into anything. It's not getting enough food and water from you, energy from you. The truth is, when people took off is when they quit their job, their full-time job, and said, I'm just going to go for it. Now, why is that? I did that, by the way. I had an engineering job and a salary, and I quit because you know what happens the next day? You're broke and you're hungry. And it is way more incentive to get work done when you need to do it than it is when you're comfort. Comfort, or somebody said complacency is like the enemy. When people get comfortable, they're not pushing the envelope. They're not trying very hard because it's still fine. You'll still eat tonight. You got your paycheck. Try going without a paycheck and see how productive you are. So when you jump, you're instantly trying to build that airplane, right? And as soon as you jump off the mountain. So I know very few people that ever were successful and by keeping their day job. The ones that were successful quit. Like if you think of Elon Musk, wow. Not only did he quit his job, but he actually took every dime he had. I was talking to him once years ago, and he said, Tesla needs to work because I put every dime I have into it. If it fails, he's like, I'll probably ask you if I can stay at your house. So entrepreneurs take risks. And like I said, if you're afraid of it, don't be one. But if you want to be one, your company is never going to take off if you're messing around on the side. You're going to have to go for it.
Wow. Those are really sound words. And I totally agree. I totally agree. We have to get out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And again, that is why it is so important to also surround yourself with the mentor, the coach, that team of cheerleaders who are going to keep you accountable and also committed to your dreams as an entrepreneur. So
I totally agree. Yep.
Those are just really, really beautiful words, Jeff. How have you been able to stay on top? I know 2020, it was a very challenging year for a lot of entrepreneurs. And some persons, they're like, at the end now, they're like, oh, we're just so looking forward to 2021. But what are the strategies that you were able to just stay on top of your business?
Well, the more important thing for everybody listening is you keep hearing everybody calling the world the new normal now. Well, anytime you use the word new, what you as an entrepreneur should hear is opportunity, right? When things change, the COVID pandemic created a world of chaos and disruption. But chaos and disruption should be your wake-up call. So when things changed, what changed? Everything. School changed, right? All of a sudden, the whole world had to figure out what online school was. Work changed. We went into distributed, remote, at-home workers, and we're using electronic collaboration tools instead of sitting in the conference room. So the future of work changed. What else changed? Medicine. We had to start figuring out how to use telemedicine for doctors and clinics to talk to people that couldn't come to the hospital then. The point is, all of those created opportunities for new products and services. It still does for everybody listening. Yes. School needs to be redesigned. Entrepreneurs will be a big part of that. Work needs to be redesigned for the future. And entrepreneurs and startups will do that. And the same with medicine. So there's huge opportunities to fill new needs that we didn't even have before the pandemic. Another example of that is all these little businesses on whatever city you live in that you're listening, that whether they're restaurants or little shops, all their business came from customers walking in and sitting down in a restaurant. And then suddenly during COVID, no one was allowed in. So all of a sudden, and just using this as another example, all those little restaurants had no online ordering and no delivery service. So there's another huge business opportunity, is converting offline brick and mortar businesses into online sellers. So that's the answer. You look for what's changed and how you take advantage of what's changed to create new products and services that you weren't even thinking about prior to this.
Wow. And it's great that you mentioned that, because here at the VIPIO, we have actually been doing a lot of work in terms of helping entrepreneurs to get into the online space, launch and grow their businesses. We've been highlighting entrepreneurs who we've been helping them to connect with other entrepreneurs and people who can really help them to grow their businesses and have greater impact. So all those strategies that you just mentioned and all those opportunities that you, as you rightly say, that's what COVID actually did for us. And I think mindset, and I want you to elaborate a little bit more too on how important it is for us to have the right mindset in order to be successful. Because even though a lot of persons are like, oh, come 2020, please go away. What if 2021 or the years after? We don't know what they will bring.
We don't know.
So just say how
and you know, I'm
that right mindset.
glad that you asked that, because entrepreneurship is not a job; it is a mindset, right? It's the mindset of a lot of things, but one of them is it's a mindset of change. It's a mindset of self-determination. Why are you waiting to see what the future will bring when you could just design it? That's what entrepreneurs do. That's the mindset. And you know, it's the mindset of accountability. What I mean by that is ownership. Entrepreneurs say, I got this. I'm going to fix this problem. I'm going to make this change. So that mindset is one where you say, where sometimes when I hear people complaining about their lives and I'm like, okay, well then change it. And what they immediately do is they start making a list of all the reasons why they can't or why it's so hard. And especially, like I was doing an online event like this for entrepreneurs all over Africa recently. And some of them are saying, well, in my country, it's really, really hard. And everybody's got their own version of hard somewhere. No one's arguing that it's that hard, but figure it out anyway. The mindset of entrepreneurs is not to complain about how hard it is, but to figure out how to get it done anyway. And in every society, there's somebody that figured it out while everybody else was still complaining about it. So your attitude determines your outcome. That I fundamentally believe that attitude is everything. So I'm glad you brought that up. Mindset.
Of course, I totally agree. Mindset determines our attitude, and our attitude determines our altitude. Not sure who said that. Whoever said that is on point. Beautiful, awesome. There's this quote by Jack Welch that says, before we are a leader, success is about growing ourselves. But when we become a leader, success is about growing others. And again, I think you are a champion in that regards, Jeff. And just go ahead and say how important it is to really invest in growing and mentoring others.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And I was blessed enough to spend time and actually do some teaching with Jack. So that was quite a treasure when he was here to do that. You succeed. I mentioned this before. You succeed when you surround yourself with people smarter than you. So leadership is truly that inverted pyramid. It's a servant leadership model that spending your time raising the level of everybody around you is the path to victory. When you're too focused on yourself, you're never going to get there alone anyway. So I completely agree with that. And, you know, Jack's one of the people I learned a lot from. That is the path to success, is raising others. So as a leader, you should spend more time talking to the people around you and figuring out how you can help them and how you can make them better and stronger. Because ultimately you and your company win from that anyway. So yeah, completely agree. A rising tide lifts all boats. So you should be responsible, you know, for the tide, not just your own boat.
Indeed, indeed. And just to piggyback on that comment, how can you say the value of like partnerships in growing your business? How valuable have you found being able to collaborate and just like the team effort, working with others, networking? How valuable is that as an
So I'll say it in two different areas. Collaboration as a small business is finding strategic partners is a really, really good way to grow. Because some bigger company is already talking to all the customers you wish you could talk excuse me.
Right.
And if you can find one that has, I always use this term, an adjacent product, that means that it's not competitive to yours, but it kind of goes along with it. An example would be if I invented new shoes that I wanted to sell to everybody, and somebody else was already selling. Sorry, I said it backwards. If I invented new socks and I wanted to sell, but I'm a little company and I don't have much budget to market people or how to get to them. But meanwhile, down the street, there's a shoe company that markets shoes and sells shoes every day to millions of shoe buyers. So I would do a partnership with them because socks are an adjacent product. I'm not competing with you. I'm offering something that when you, who already talked to millions of shoe buyers, next time you talk to them, say, here's our shoes. By the way, would you like some socks? Because we just announced a new partnership with this sock company and we can get you socks too. So finding little companies should find bigger companies that are already talking to the customer they want to reach. And as long as it's adjacent and not competitive, sign a deal. And sometimes the reason they won't, I say, how come you didn't do a deal with them? And they're like, oh, because they want 30% of my profits, right? For every sale. I was like, you're giving up 30% or your choice is 0%. They're incremental sales to customers you could never reach. You don't have the money to get to them, so take the deal. Don't be greedy. Sometimes people wind up small because they were too greedy to sign a revenue share deal. So the other thing that you mentioned was networking, and you are indeed only as strong as your network. So I always tell people that if they ask me when to network, it's 24/7. Everywhere you go all the time, extend yourself, ask people their story, learn about them, make notes. Because you don't build your network when you need it. You build it way before, so that when you're launching a new company or a new product and you need people, you already know who you want to get and you've probably already met them.
Awesome. That's just awesome. Those are just really, really great and sound strategies, Jeff. Really, really beautiful.
Thank you.
How can people connect with you on social media, or if you have any programs that you want them to be
Sure.
a part of?
I'm really the only two I'm active in business is my Twitter is Speaker Jeff. Okay. My LinkedIn profile, I'm easy to find, but it's / you do linkedin.com/in. It's just Jeff Hoff, JEFF. LinkedIn is probably social media wise for business where I spend the most time. I also have a website, just jeffhoffman.com. That's my email, jeff@jeffhoffman.com. And so a lot of the organizations I'm involved in, from the Unreasonable Group to Global Entrepreneurship Network to more, people can reach out, and if they want to connect and get involved in some of those, we're always looking for more help and more volunteers. So I would love to hear from people.
Of course. All right. And I'm definitely in the replay video, I am going to post how persons can reach out to you as well.
Sure.
Awesome. So are there any final words of advice that you just want to share with our viewers today?
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a summary of what we already talked about. But again, stop complaining about the life you have and go design the one you want. And stop wondering about the future and go create it. That's the real reason to be an entrepreneur. Isn't about business or money. It's about the opportunity to just design your own future. I wanted to travel the world, but I was broke. My mom was broke, and I never went anywhere. And I was never going to do that. And then I went and got a job. And in my job, I didn't travel anywhere. I traveled from my, bedroom to my cubicle and then back again every day of my life. It was never going to happen. No one was going to do any of these things for me. And I didn't have any money or anything when I started. But I said, I want to see the world, so I'm going to have to create that future myself. So the entrepreneur part was I started a travel company and I basically hired myself. I made the job that I wished I had that enabled me to live the way I wanted to live. And so because we solved problems and delivered value to people, they paid us. And because they paid us and I was in the travel industry, I got to fly all over the world, which is all I ever wanted to do anyway. So that's it. Own your future and go out there and build it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for being the change that the world of entrepreneurship needs. Again, it's the lovely Lady Victoria from the VIP Inspirational Academy. And at the VIPIA, we take your passion and your purpose and help you to create phenomenal results in your life and in your business. Thanks again, Jeff, for being on today's episode of
Thank you.